Hello and welcome to part 2 in our series of how to improvise over a 2-5-1 chord progression. If you'd like to check out part 1, there's a link in the description below this video. In today's session, we're going to discuss how to develop improvisational technique. The thing to keep in mind is that these studies are all foundation studies. They're the building blocks that all our future work is built on. And the more work we put in and the more accurately we play these studies, the more successful our future work will be. The first thing the improvising musician must do is develop multi-levels of concentration. They need to, 1, be aware of the ground beat at all times. So in these studies, we'll be using a metronome to practice along with. The second skill the improvising musician must have is the ability to recognise the harmonic flow playing in the background. And in today's session, that harmonic flow will be the 2-5-1 chord progression. Now, the way we develop these two skills, as I said earlier, we will have a metronome playing along. That will be our click track playing in the background. And when we're playing the chords in the progression, we're going to hold the chord as a sustained sound. So we're not going to put any fancy rhythm in. We're just going to play the chord, strum it once, and let it ring on for 4 beats. So what will happen is, as you'll see on the screen there, we'll have D minor 7 ringing on for 4 beats, then G7 ringing on for 4 beats, and then C major 7 ringing on for 8 beats. So we're working on a 4-bar harmonic background. Let's firstly have a listen to the 2-5-1 progression in C major with the chords just as a sustained sound. A good idea here is to simply close your eyes, listen deeply to the sound of the progression. This is our first step. We're wanting to develop a memory for the sound of these chords. Let's have a listen to them now. Next, I'm going to play exactly the same chord progression, only this time with the click track. So let's have a listen to the 2-5-1 progression in C, the chords sustained, and the click track in the background. You will hear 4 clicks before the progression starts. The next step is to play what we call melodic continuity. Now what this means is to play an endless series of uninterrupted notes. They can be any length of note, but the idea is to have an uninterrupted stream of these notes. So no slides, hammer-ons, bending or anything like that, just a constant stream of notes of the one rhythm. And we're borrowing this idea from classical music. For example, where you have instruments that have a long tradition of disciplined practice routines that produce really quality results. For example, instruments like the piano and violin. If we had a look, for example, in developing piano technique, there are books like the Hanon exercises where there's endless exercises that just feature eighth notes all the way through. So we're going to borrow this method of developing a very confident, reliable technique. The only difference is that with a classical player, all their exercises are already written out. So the violinist or the piano player is reading the exercises. The difference with the improvising musician, we're going to have to make up our solo or our study on the spot without anything written down. So we need to practice in that manner as well. So for this lesson, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have the 2-5-1 chord progression playing in the background with the click track. So we have the click track, the sustained chords, and now over that backing track, we're going to play, for today's lesson, I'm going to play a series of one beat notes. That means a note on every click of the metronome over the background. Now our scale of choice for today will be the C major pentatonic scale. So here's an example of the 2-5-1 progression being played, and I'm playing a constant stream of one beat notes, one note on every click with the metronome, and I'm simply playing up and down the C major pentatonic scale. Now, at this point, we're not trying to create any piece of art. We're not trying to create a Beethoven piece or a Wes Montgomery solo or anything like that. We're just trying to go through and get used to a disciplined way of approaching the study of improvisation. Some notes will sound better than others. The whole idea is just keep moving up and down the scale. You can play the notes in any order, but the idea is no stopping or sliding or bending or any other guitar effect like hammering on or anything like that. So let's have a listen to our C major pentatonic scale played over the 2-5-1 chord progression. There'll be a 4-click intro, then I'm playing through the chord progression 4 times. So there you have it. It sounds like an exercise, right? And that's because it is. But let's have a look at what we're doing. It's an exercise for developing improvisational skills. You're listening to the click track and hopefully you're tapping your foot along with the metronome. You're starting to absorb the sound of the chords in the background, and you're making decisions what notes to play. Either play the next note higher in the scale or the next note lower. What I'm going to do now, just to finish off this session, is I'm going to play the 2-5-1 chord progression with the click track through 4 times for you to practice over. Remember, there's 4 clicks in and then the progression starts. So there we go. You've taken your first steps to learning how to solo over a 2-5-1 progression, and I hope this material has been of interest to you. I know for certain that if you follow through the routine as we've laid out here, that you will be very successful in building a strong improvisational technique. And so I look forward to catching up with you on the next session. Bye for now.